Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to another episode of Dream Oracle for You. I am your host, and my co-host Biljana are here. And today we're going to do a couple of things. This is episode 11, by the way, with a focus on nightmares, bad dreams, perhaps a little discussion about anxiety, and then lucid dreams we'll finish up the episode with. So I hope you sit back, enjoy the show. To start things off with today's episode, we're actually going to do something a little bit different. In discussing dreams, we recognize, or at least Biljana and I are firm believers that dreams have messages to share. And these dreams are really to help you on your soul's journey. And so today I thought I would kick things off with Billy by doing a reading for Biljana. And this is using the Soul's Journey lesson cards. It's by James Van Praagh, and I'll put all that in the show notes if you're interested in these cards. It's a 44 card deck that can help you receive messages as well in an intuitive way that you can then figure out things that you need to work on at a soul level. So, Biljana, do you have anything to say before we get started?
Hello, and I am ready.
Perfect. That was great. Okay, let's see. This may take a few seconds, so I don't know if you want to fill the silence or we'll just keep the silence on. Maybe I should have picked the cards beforehand, but okay.
This is where I just need a drum roll effects.
Maybe. I'll do that. I learned how to do that. I've been helping my fiance with uh his YouTube channel and his one of his because he opens magic cards and they have some value associated with them. So one of his commenters had suggested, "Oh, you should put prices in your video." And so we've learned this week how to edit his video, add the prices in for the cards, and then every time the price comes up, there's a little cash register sound. So yes, I could probably definitely add in the drum roll on
Cool.
this. Okay, so let's see. Mm. How many cards will Biljana receive today with a message? Three cards? Okay, so today you're gonna get three cards, and I'm just gonna hopefully I find them. And I'm just literally just sorting, like one by one, I'm picking up each card and just sensing the energy of the card and hoping that um the message will come through. Okay. I might actually cut out this dead silence and put in a drum roll for the whole thing.
That's all right. Yeah.
Okay, we have one card, so two more to find. Okay, two cards. Okay, so I have three cards. I'm just gonna double check that those are the right cards that should have come through. Okay, so are you ready, Biljana, for your reading this morning?
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
So, oh, this is beautiful. This is a really great card. Your first card is called Service, and I'll show you the picture of it in a second because they have nice little mandalas, and each card kind of has a color associated with it as well. So your first card is Service, and it says, "I feel good when I can help others." And this is, oh, kind of what the card looks like.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I'll
It's
take a
green,
picture.
my favorite color. Perfect.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll take a picture of these later to send to you, and perhaps I'll also include them into the podcast for our listeners. So then what I do, so I pick the card and then I go and I read a little blip and I let you think about it. And if you have anything to say, you can say, and then I'll move on to the next card. One of the most involved gifts that a soul possesses is giving of itself. There is a reason why it feels good to give. It is because your soul resonates with that vibration. Your soul should be aware that it might currently be in a situation in which it needs to be fulfilled on higher levels, and this can only happen through the attribute of humbly serving and supporting others. Put yourself in a position in which you can benefit another soul in any way possible and demonstrate unconditional love toward others. This might mean bringing yourself into your heart space and letting everything you involve yourself in come from an attitude of giving freely. You have to learn to direct your green heart light energy through all your thoughts, actions, and deeds. Look around and see where and how you can serve another. Perhaps one way would be asking a friend if you can help clean up his or her office or run errands. Maybe volunteer to watch your neighbor's kids so the parents can have a night out. Make a meal for someone who might be sick. Volunteer in a hospital or hospice. Perform an activity that enriches someone else's life.
Very nice. Yeah, that's definitely me in a nutshell. That my whole life is to serve, and but then for me, it's more of a balance, not doing it too much, not giving too much. So yeah, I was thinking about that today about just all the volunteer work I'm doing and all that. I still love it. Um, but yeah, not to burn myself out for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as soon as I got this card, I'm like, oh my gosh, this card is definitely for Biljana. Of just the little bit that I know about you so far in the last few weeks, definitely fits you. And that's an important point to also note is in order to serve others and to give of yourself, you also have to give to yourself in order so that you have stuff to pass on. So it's important to take the time for yourself as well. So great. So I should preface that sometimes these messages are things that you have to work on. Other times they're messages that just kind of highlight what you're doing and kind of to keep going, like you're on the right path. I forgot that that's a something that I've noticed with the cards. And there's usually a blend of both. So you usually get like, here's what you're doing well, keep going, and then there's okay, here's something to work on. So let's see what card number two is. What's behind door number two? Oh, okay. So here's where it changes a little bit differently. What's interesting is the background of the cards are of the same shade. So this card is regret, and it says, "I know that I cannot change the past." That's what it looks like. It's got a
Very
yellow
nice.
background with a red circle mandala. Okay, so let's see what the regret page has to have. And I have to say, of all the people that I've done a reading for with these cards, these are two that have not come up. So it's really interesting how it really is unique to each individual. The soul doesn't know time. Time is a construct of the physical dimension. To your soul, there is only one big now. Think of the past as the now that has already been created, and the future as the now that has yet to be created. You don't have the power to uncreate the past, so let that go. Your power of creation lies in your awareness of the present. You have the power to not only create your future, but also create acceptance of your past. You should realize that you are the total summation of every single experience you have had. These experiences have helped shape you into the person you are today. Train yourself not to judge past events as good or bad, but as opportunities. What have you learned from the past that will help enrich your future? Focusing on the past and letting it dictate the direction of your future is taking your power away from yourself. You are the creator. You hold the power. Reflect on the lessons of the past and use your current power to create your bright future.
Very nice. I thought like a for me, I don't regret anything in my life, so it must be something very specific that I have to take notice of,
Hmm,
which I'm sure, no doubt, I'll dream and it will come to me in my dream, or I'll wake up and be like, haha,
there
that's
it
what I need to
goes.
deal with. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now that you know that it's focused on regret, then yeah, perhaps you'll something will happen in a dream and you'll just, like you said, wake up and it be right there. Which, spoiler, that's something that's happened in my dream last night that we'll share a little bit later this morning.
I'm
Okay.
excited to know.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't told you yet. I left it for the podcast. Okay. Last card. Oh, this is a beautiful card and quite a contrast in color from the other cards. This one is balance. I bring a state of perfect harmony into my world, and I do so without judgment. And so we'll find that card in the book. Luckily, all of the cards in the book are in alphabetical order, so it's somewhat easy to find them. Balance. Balance means bringing a sense of stability and wholeness into every area of your life. Many times, when you look at a situation objectively, you will resonate with one side more than the other. Try not to view either as good or bad, but simply recognize that it is. The true nature of the scales of balance is to give both sides of a situation your equitable, objective perspective. It can be difficult to understand the side that you don't relate to, but that is a lesson in itself. What is it about you that prevents you from giving both sides of the coin your non-judgmental assessment? The situation or person has been placed in your path to teach you that everyone has his or her own unique, authentic life story, and you must put yourself in that person's shoes to really understand his or her motivation. Balance is a godly virtue, and if it is struck, you will reap the benefits of insight and compassion.
Hmm.
And I didn't show the
Well
card.
said.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Was that purple?
It's yeah, it's a kind of purpley color. Yeah, it's hard to see, but yeah, it's kind of purpley. Little
Ah,
the flower itself is blue and green.
I was sitting there, I'm like, I bet it's purple.
As I said, you have that intuitive ability, Biljana. I said that before we hit record, so you're definitely
Or
showing
I was
that
just
today.
hoping. I was like,
Well,
oh yeah, I hope it's purple. I like purple.
funny, I don't know if you've noticed, purple's my favorite color too. And
Ah, very nice.
and the soul journey cards are purple. So
There you go.
the background of them are anyway.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's the I'll yeah, definitely ponder those three things. And I feel like the times where I've used cards like oracle cards or those sorts of things, they're like a continuous kind of theme. Like even with different cards, it's always like those three things are just a continuous theme for, the last year or so. And balance is always a card that I pull out. So yeah, it's just a constant like balance, balance, balance. Come on.
Balance, service, and regret too comes up.
Yeah, not as in regret, but yeah, in that certain similar way. So yeah,
That's pretty cool. It shows that
yeah.
those are definitely the messages that you're meant to receive, I guess. And like I said, it sometimes the message can be like, "Hey, keep going," or just like a reminder to keep doing what you're doing. And other times the messages can be like, "Hey, you need to work on this," which which I don't want to jump right into my dream right away, but I will say that it was definitely a reminder this morning to, hey, you need to you need to do something about this. Deep down, you've not fully dealt with this.
Well, we can talk about your dream now if you want. It's
Okay. Don't have to
why
twist
not?
my
Why
heart
not?
hard. Okay.
Yeah.
So first I'll just say that, today we're planning to discuss nightmares, bad dreams. We're gonna touch a little bit on PTSD, but I will preface this by saying neither one of us are experts with that, and we do recognize that PTSD is a very serious condition, and that each person, may need a little bit more than just dream interpretation to deal with those situations. So, but my dream last night, I would classify it as a little bit of a nightmare dream, a little bit of a bad dream. And I was reading last night in the When Brains Dream, that book that I've mentioned in past episodes, and it spoke about nightmares, how sometimes a nightmare can just come where it's bad from start to finish, but other times nightmares start out as a really nice, pleasant dream, and then there's a change, and then it turns dark. And that is very much what happened last night for me. I was just really enjoying the dream. It could have been like something that would have happened during a day or a series of days. Like I just like, oh, this is great, bouncing along, great. And then it turned a bit dark and then I woke up. So what happened in the dream? Some of the good things. I spoke about Lay Love Down actually. I was giving a mini speech in front of a bunch of people. We were like on a grassy hill outside, and I was talking about who I was and then what Lay Love Down is all about. And it was fun because the people in the crowd were just kind of like cheering me on and like kind of um I don't know, just really happy and impressed. I don't know if impressed is the right word, but there was just a good feeling coming from that. And then the dream moved on and I was walking barefoot. It was weird. My fiance was on a tractor, which was kind of weird, and I was like walking behind him barefoot and he was on a tractor. And then we got to, and this is like kind of by like a beachy area. And we got to kind of like this like cliff area. And it had sort of like water running down over it. And it was obviously, well, not necessarily obviously, but it was like a warm day. And the both of us was like, oh, we should, climb down over the rocks and just enjoy kind of like the waterfall type feel of it. And then there was another couple with us. I don't know if they were with us or they were just, kind of experiencing the same kind of thing that we were doing. And so this is where it started to turn dark. So I'm barefoot down on the rocks, enjoying the water running over the wa rocks. And then there was a dog that was laying on the rocks, and it kind of like, um, it kind of moved. And I think it was the guy from the couples, he went and picked up the dog because, like, all of us collectively were like having concern for this dog that was, laying on the rocks and moving. And when he picked up the dog was like screeching, and I could almost hear it in my dream. And it was like obviously the dog was in a lot of pain. And then I like noticed the dog's like shoulder was like dislocated. It was all in the wrong spot. And so that was fine. And then there was another dog, and this one happened to be a beagle, which is key into it was a key symbol that stood out in the dream for me. And then this one, it it could move, but it couldn't like move like it's I would say from like its waist down. It was like its lower half of its body was, I guess, paralyzed. And I was trying to figure out what had happened to these dogs, and it kind of came to me in the dream that they were obviously abused animals, and they were just discarded and thrown over the side of the cliff, and they were, all injured. And then, so this is where another symbol really stood out, and it was really weird for me. So next to the beagle was some pills that were kind of scattered. And I remember I picked up a bottle, and on the bottle it said ivermectin. And I was like, oh, I was like, uh, okay, that's interesting. And pretty much then I woke up. So to me, that was my level of horror or bad dream, was having animals that are abused. Um, Before I go any further, because I don't want this to be a monologue of myself, because I have analyzed the dream and I've recognized what this all connects to and what I needed to do. But did you have anything that stood out for you as I was describing the dream, apart from the points that I obviously pointed out?
Um, the first thoughts that came to my mind, and I suppose I probably interpret dreams in a different way. Um, but to me, like because it's like it started out with the Lay Love Down project, and all that was good, but I feel like it's to do with maybe there's some doubt creeping in about your ability in regards to that. And and it could be like past traumas or events or even past life events that are like creeping in now and possibly affecting your ability to um, be confident in yourself and know that you're doing the right thing and being true to yourself. So that's kind of what I got from that. I don't know if that's right or not, but
I think a little bit, but as we've have discussed before, dreams are personal, right? So the messages that will come
yeah,
through, really only the dreamer can fully, I think, recognize and understand all
yeah,
of the symbols. Now, what's interesting is when you brought up Lay Love Down, I actually hadn't I and I'll explain the connection to waking life in a second. But when I had interpreted the dream, I know that it was surrounding, part of it is surrounding love, but I hadn't clued in that it literally spelled it out in the dream by mentioning lay love down. So what is the story? This story is a traumatic waking event to me. It involves love or lack thereof. It involves a beagle, a dog, abuse, and ivermectin. All of those symbols that came through in the dream, actually, I can connect to a real life event for me. And I would say this was probably one of the most horrific. I don't know. It was pretty traumatic. I remember dealing with this for quite some time. So this was when I lived in Florida, and we had four dogs at the time when I was in Florida. They had lots of property to run around. It was great. And our neighbors had a couple dogs, but they were more aggressive like dogs. And our neighbors weren't exactly the most friendly as people. And animals are really, as you know, are quite smart and quite intuitive. So they can pick up on good energy and bad energy. So I had two beagles. One was actually a stray that we had picked up, and we had her for about 5 or 6 months. And she actually had heartworms. And so this is where the ivermectin is coming into play, because we were using ivermectin to treat the heartworms. And we actually ended up having to put her down, not because of the heartworms, but because we came home one day and she was laying in our yard and two dogs, our neighbor's dogs, had been standing over her. They had attacked her and she had gashes all over her body. We picked her up, we rushed her to the vet, and it was really it was definitely a traumatic event. Um, the vet said that, they could do surgery and operate on her, but it would have been such a traumatic event for her that she would never be the same. And not to mention that the surgery would have cost several thousands of dollars. And in that split moment, we decided that it would have been best to have put her down. And the challenging part about that for me, it just goes to show how I was shown in that moment how an animal, especially a dog, just has absolute unconditional love. And I remember going into the vet's office to say goodbye to the dog. Her name was Nixie. And, she's in pain. She's got gashes all over her body. And she's laying on a cold table. And she sees me come in. And she simply just looks at me and starts wagging her tail because she's happy to see me. That was one of the most difficult things to deal with for me. Um, so the biggest thing, the message that I had to learn from from this, and I thought that I had dealt with this previously, but not completely, evidently, by the dream coming up, is actually forgiveness. And, you know, as we go through life, we kind of saw that a little bit with one of your cards with regret, that you just can't change your past. You can't change things that have happened. But what you can change is how you feel about it, I guess, how you react to it, how you hold on to that energy. And one of the most important lessons that I've learned in the past year is the ability to deep down forgive a situation and to really recognize that all souls, everybody on earth, has their own journey that they're going on. And, we call this Earth School, right? We call this a place where we come to learn and to grow. And sometimes some some people or some souls just haven't learned the lessons that they need to learn yet. And where does lay love down come into this? There's two aspects of this. The first one is I was really reflecting this morning on animals being abused. And I'm like, why would somebody abuse an animal? And I was reminded of a cartoon that I saw recently, just like a little, um, just a single panel cartoon. And it was a picture of a boss being like yelling and, you know, being negative towards their employee. So a husband. And then it then showed the next one was the husband was then passing that energy on to his wife. And then the wife was passing that energy on to the kid. And then that kid was passing the energy on to an animal. And it was a trickle down effect. And really what was lacking in all of that was love. The boss wasn't showing love and compassion to the husband. The husband wasn't showing it to his wife. Wife wasn't showing it to the kid. Kid wasn't showing it to the dog. And so that came into my mind when I was reflecting on why somebody would abuse their animal. And so two things that I had to forgive this morning was I had to forgive my neighbors for because I believe that when an animal is aggressive, it's because they're not being shown love and compassion, that they are mistreated. That is why an animal becomes aggressive, because they are being mistreated. And so I had to forgive my neighbors for not loving their animals. And part of that is likely because they themselves have not been loved. And then I also had to forgive the dogs themselves because it wasn't the dog's fault that they attacked my dog because they didn't know any better. They weren't shown love either. So yeah, it's a little bit of a hard topic, but I as as hard as that dream was to see this morning, like the dog screaming in my dream, just like, oh, it was hard to deal with. And then of course, you know, seeing a dog not being able to move at all and just having been literally thrown off a cliff and neglected really pulled on their heartstrings. But I was able to pull a lesson from it. And I think that is the key with dealing with a lot of bad dreams, good dreams, whatever it is. It's to be able to figure out what it is, the message is that you need to learn. Anyway, there's my monologue
Yeah.
again.
Thank you for sharing that. That's yeah, that's it's never easy when someone you love, an animal, and especially like having children in your dreams. Like it's always so hard when they're, going through a lot, and you being the dream, I have to you experience all that emotion as well. So it can be, yeah, quite overwhelming, and it ends up being one of a very vivid memory, a very vivid dream, and you never forget it. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's yeah,
Oh, you're
that's
welcome. Well, I'm
yeah.
hopefully it inspires our listeners and hopefully it inspired you a little as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And and with that, and not just that dream, but any dream, it's from just everything we've been talking about, and what I've been listening to, dreams uh, pop up when they need to pop up. So there's something in your life that you need to receive that dream information at that time, because for whatever reason. And I was listening to there was the interview that I spoke about last episode, and he was talking about when you get a dream, it's not necessarily um the symbols or the things that happen in the dream that's relating to a situation in your life. It could be the emotion it provokes, and from a past memory of some sort. And I'm like, that's really good way to look at it, because I have some really random dreams that I'm like, I'm never going to understand that, but I think it's how it made me felt is like, bringing up a past memory that it's connecting to. And our brains are so like amazing that we will eventually figure it out. So like even with your dream, you just putting one and two together, and yeah, so fascinating.
Yeah, no, dreams are fascinating. That's why we have this podcast, right?
Yes,
It's
yeah,
but yeah, that's interesting to talk about the symbols not necessarily being the symbol themselves, but the emotion they
yeah,
invoke. And I I I agree with that because again, it comes back to dreams being personal and what one symbol, the emotion that will be invoked for one person from a symbol versus another person is going to be
yeah,
quite different because everybody's emotional radar, that's even a thing, is a spectrum, right? It's it's like you could show a picture of, I don't know, buildings collapsing or something, and two different people they're gonna have, possibly a similar reaction, but it's gonna be at a different degree. So, same is true
Yeah.
for the emotions.
Yeah, and what I've just noticed, even just with you and I like from your dream, I picked out like the emotion behind the dream, whereas you picked out the symbols. And the times where you've interpreted my dreams, you've done the same. You've picked out the symbols in that dream, but I associate with the an emotional part of the dream.
Hmm.
So, and and probably what I'm saying could be relevant and say vice versa. But it's just interesting what we pick out from our own dreams, depending on how we process information and yeah, so yeah, that's quite interesting. I've just kind of picked up on that. So
Yeah, no, that is an interesting thing to pick on it up on is that, the emotions, I guess, will kind of stand out for you versus the symbols for me. Now, what does that mean on a soul level? I'm just gonna get all deep here now. Does it mean that you're just more, uh, and I don't want to say more because we're all on a journey and we're just at different points on the road. It's not that one is better than the other. You're further along on the emotional journey, perhaps, or I don't really know. I'm just
no,
trying
I
to.
think it's just I don't think it's more or less or anything like that. I think it's just we are all different and we resonate with different things. And it all relates to the experiences we've had in our life. So we're going to resonate with, like the dogs in your dream, you associate with them differently because of the experiences you've had in your life
Hmm,
compared to me. Yeah, I've had dogs in my life, but I've experienced them in a different way.
right.
So I guess that's how you can look at it. And that's why like I was looking at dream books and there's a lot of dream interpretation books and analyzing them and all that sort of stuff. And I think they're going to be good, but they're never going to resonate with me because it's not my truth. It's not my experience. It's someone else's, or it's a generic way of looking at it. So it can be a starting point, but like you say, it's individual dreams. So our subconscious it knows how we think and process, so it's going to give us information that the individual person will understand.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't have said it better myself, and that's exactly how I feel when it comes to dream interpretation books. It's the entire reason why, well, not the entire reason, but it's definitely a big part of why I wanted to start this podcast is because I was paying attention to my dreams and I find myself just Googling or looking in books or whatever. And I was like, yeah, okay, kind of, but I still felt like there was something missing. And the part that's missing is recognizing that dreams are personal and the messages that come through or the symbols, whatever it may be, the emotions are all unique to the individual. And so the answer to how do you interpret dreams is you have to go within. You have to reflect on yourself, listen to your heart, meditate, make the intention, and allow the information to come through. So, wow, that's
Yeah,
beautiful.
100%.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we should preface this by we just jumped into talking about my dream and nightmares, and the originally we wanted to kind of give an overview of what the different types of dreams are, and this is going to be a multi-part episode where we pick a couple types of dreams. So for today, it's nightmares, bad dreams, maybe some anxiety, who knows? And also, we're going to be talking about lucid dreams. And then what's going to be fun is that we will have future episodes that will then we're going to actually have some guests on to talk more either there'll be experts or there'll be people that just have these types of dreams a lot, and we'll just dive into to discussions about that. So that's just
Yeah,
kind of
I'm
a
I'm super excited about that.
yeah, me too. I'm excited to have guests as well. I was really excited to get a co-host, but now to have guests on as well. And so we actually will have our first guests later this week.
Yeah, it's a another opportunity to for us to what do they say it was the expression flap our gums.
I like the term chinwag that I've recently learned. Like I said, the flapping the gums imagery just doesn't sit well with me. Um, yeah. So before we start talking about lucid dreams, do we want to touch a little bit on PTS dreams, or do you have anything that you'd like to share with nightmares?
Yeah, well, we can talk about the nightmares and like anxiety. They kind of all interrelate anyway, because like when you're anxious in your waking life, that's when you can have nightmares. And I suppose for most of my life, that's I've experienced that, like a lot of nightmares because of growing up in a very stressful household and always, like before I went to sleep, I won't say too much about, you know, my childhood, but because a lot of it I don't actually remember, so I can't um tell even like yeah, tell you much, but I always went to sleep stressed, my ears, listening for the rest of the house to make sure I was safe to go to sleep. So I was already in a heightened state before I went to sleep. And then my dreams were just like always chaotic. And
Mhm.
it was, yeah, just always stressful. And that kind of played all the way through to adulthood and just working as well. So I well, I left my hometown when I was 21. So I wasn't around family. So I'm 34. Yeah, I'm 34. And so I haven't been around family since I was like 23. Only, on occasions. But that stress has still stayed. And so therefore, like I've still continued to have nightmares and made my waking life even stressful as well. So it was kind of like a cycle. And I used to be a rock climbing guide, and I'd always have really bad dreams about rope snapping or gear breaking or all these sorts of things when I knew that wouldn't happen because of like how well we had to be trained to do all these sorts of things. And you're double checking, triple checking. You're always working with someone. But in my dream, it was just always, yeah, just it didn't make sense, but it was always really stressful. So yeah, that's my experience with nightmares. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one really vivid one that yeah, it always stands out and I can like look at the wall and picture it, and it's always the same one about rock climbing, and I never saw anyone die, thank goodness. But it was always the assumption that that's what was going to happen
Mhm.
in my dream. So yeah,
Yeah, no, that's I'm left speechless here. Let me give you a second. Um, yeah, I guess it's the connection to, being under stress and having anxiety and clearly having a tumultuous childhood where, you're in that constant state of, I guess it's really I feel that anxiety and fear go hand in hand. There's like anxiety. I don't know like which one causes which or they both just exist simultaneously, but they definitely exist together. And, having, and it's also the stress being under stress. And there's obviously a biochemical process that comes with that as well, because, there are hormones or chemical messengers in the body that are heightened when the body is under stress as opposed to not being under stress. And that kind of leads into a little bit I wanted to mention about PTSD. And again, I'm going to preface this. I am not an expert, and I recognize that PTSD is, you know, something that's quite challenging for those individuals that suffer from it. And but there is a biochemical process at play. And for more information, at least this is where my information is coming about PTSD. It's from chapter 13 in Why Brains Dream. And it talks about a couple different things, but from the biochemical perspective is, throughout your day you release different hormones. So there's like noradrenaline, which comes when you're under stress. And, there's different areas of sleep or different modes of sleep. You have your REM sleep, and there's different ones that are related to that as well. And when you do not have REM sleep, or your REM sleep is, um, no, I'm getting that wrong. It's when you're sleeping, this noradrenaline molecule, it's supposed to be suppressed during REM sleep. But if you do not have a normal REM sleep, then this chemical is not being suppressed. And it's this chemical, this adrenaline or noradrenaline chemical, that's kind of causing this, you know, this anxiety related condition, or like increasing your stress. And so anytime the body is under stress, this chemical is released. And then basically, when you have a normal sleep process, this chemical is kind of dealt with how it's supposed to be dealt with in the body. But when there's too much stress and there's too much of this chemical, it interferes with your normal sleep cycles. Is kind of my basic understanding so far of that. And then that leads into where PTSD comes in, and it's yeah, I'm not sure if there was something else I wanted to say on that. I guess that's the end of my my knowledge on PTSD so far, but it's definitely a biochemical like there's more involved than just simply having, a bad dream. There's an actual biochemical process that's involved.
Yeah. And so do you think that if you're overstimulated and you're overstressed, that can cause you to not dream?
Yeah, well, because it's going to disrupt your sleep cycles, right? And we dream in our real dreams come through when we're in that deep sleep, which is the REM sleep. And so if you're not having that, then um then you're not going to dream. But PTSD, when you do dream, you can there's there's the idea that you will so there's I had the misconception, I guess, with PTSD, in that because I've not necessarily experienced it, um that you relive the memories, kind of the traumatic event that when you dream, you're like reliving the thing or the event that happened. And so there's actually this researcher, Magdalena Fosse, and she was trying to determine if, um, like for somebody who has PTSD, if when they dream, are they dreaming like an exact replica of the memory, or are they just dreaming about the situation? Um, and what she had discovered is that it's about 2% of the, I guess, the population of people that she had studied, about 2% they actually replayed the memories at like in their dreams. But otherwise, it was more that they were just having dream items that are related to the event, I guess those symbols and whatnot that come through as opposed to an actual reliving of the memory
Yeah,
through dreaming.
yeah, yeah. That makes sense. But and I suppose then the trauma is sitting within the body, like they're holding in the body. So then it's just an emotional reaction rather than the memory, because a lot of trauma can even like suppress a lot of memories as well. So if you don't remember, maybe your subconscious will seep that through, but your subconscious probably will not show you memories to protect you
Mm,
from the trauma. So then you'll be experiencing the emotional stress, and then you have nightmares, or to a point where you're overloaded with stress and you won't dream. Like for example, if someone that I know doesn't dream at all, I know I know bits and pieces of his life, and it to me it sounds like he had a real stressful childhood, and um being like leaving school, and then the jobs that he's had, being in certain circles, like he's just stressed all his life, and he doesn't dream at all.
mm.
So whether he doesn't recognize their dreams and he thinks they're just thoughts, I don't know. But yeah, he's pretty adamant he doesn't dream. So
Yeah, I mean it's most likely related to the REM sleep if I were an
yeah.
expert, but I'm not. Um,
Who's an expert?
yeah. Well, it's like to be an expert, how many? It's like over 10,000 hours or something you have to have dedicated to a particular topic. I mean, there's a reason why some degrees are quite lengthy because it takes that long well, I think it's like for a master's degree, it's typically 2 years. So to become a master in something, you have about 2 years of work, and to, I guess, become an expert, you need uh like about four years or so if you were doing a PhD or whatnot. But um yeah. So I mean, on the topic of not dreaming, so with PTSD and I mean, I'm a little torn because I don't have experience per se in having PTSD. I have had some traumatic events that have happened in my life, and I have definitely lived in anxiety and fear, but I wouldn't classify it as being PTSD. And I was reading, oh yeah, so when it comes to nightmares become clinically significant when you have them more than once, when you have them at least once a week. And then that ties into having daytime worries about the dream, kind of like you talking about your well, not saying that you had this once a week, but just you having daytime worries about like kind of your work and with the rock
Yeah,
climbing and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, so and then, once nightmares become chronic where you're having them like all the time, then that's when it's kind of feeding into a PTSD situation. But what I wanted to mention was about the REM in relation to PTSD being a biochemical situation. So that's something that the body is doing because it's under stress. And then maybe this is a topic for another episode, but we can touch briefly on it where anybody who smokes weed, for example, are going to they typically report not dreaming very much. And so that's kind of a chemically induced situation where you're adding the chemical to your body. And I mean, I don't know the specifics in how THC works. You have cannabinoid receptors in the brain for sure, but definitely there has to be some sort of interplay with the level of or the depth of the sleep that you achieve when taking weed, for example. And I'm sure there are other chemicals out there that also affect REM sleep, and that I just wanted to make that little connection with PTSD. And it's interesting because people with PTSD are actually recommended to smoke weed as a kind of way to deal with any dreams that they may have because it helps stop them going into that REM sleep.
Yeah. But I suppose it doesn't fix the what's going on. It's just a
Yeah,
band-aid. And I
basically.
suppose yeah, and same with like alcohol. Alcohol just does the same thing. Like I the times where I've had a bit too much to drink and woken up and I'm like I felt like I've slept like a log and I didn't remember anything in my dream. So it kind of yeah, it stops you from connecting from with your subconscious. And I suppose that yeah, marijuana does the same thing and yeah. So don't drink and smoke weed if you want to
If you
dream.
Well, let's add something to that. If you want to dream and actually deal with your problems. Because otherwise, as you said, you're just putting a band-aid on. And I have a history where I've I've drank before. I've also smoked weed. Um, I would say chronically before. But part of the reason that I stopped smoking weed is because I got really interested in dreams. And starting this podcast has been helpful for that because I'm like, well, I need to be able to dream to talk about stuff in my podcast. So let's kick this. And I was able to stop smoking weed. So that's I don't know if I've
Well, that's
shared that.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, not sure if I shared that on the podcast before or not, but um
Yeah, that's good. But it's good and it's handy you're having dreams now, whereas I'm not really dreaming for the last few days. But
mm.
I've had the last 2 nights, I don't know what it is yet. I'm still pondering that. It's probably something I won't talk about on the podcast. Um, but the other nights where I haven't dreamt, I've been dead to the world. I felt like had my mission during the day. I've done my gardening. I've been grounded, and I feel good. And I've just like plonk, snoring probably my head off. So, so I suppose like if you don't dream, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like maybe it's everything is resting. You
Mm.
know, yeah. It's not necessarily that you haven't got things going through your head, but it's just the time where yeah, like your whole body is having a break. It's just having some downtime. So
Now, do you think
anyone listening, yeah, if you don't dream much, it's okay.
yeah,
You can get better at it for sure.
yeah, and what's the key? You got to set the intent
Yeah.
and clear your space. Just to reflect on last our last episode. Um, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I feel that I dream every night. I just don't always remember my dreams every night. But I do wonder the nights that I don't remember my dreams, did I actually dream, you know? Like I just feel like it's a natural part that's supposed to happen. And when you go into such a deep sleep, which is your REM sleep is supposed to be this deep sleep, and that's where dreaming is supposed to happen. So I guess that's a question is those times when you are just in such a deep sleep, are you actually dreaming and you just don't remember them? Or are you not dreaming at all? Is the
Yeah.
question. Because I, the sense that I'm getting when it comes to dreaming and sleeping, I guess, is the brain is actually quite active at night. Like we don't, our body is like almost paralyzed pretty much. You just, you might flip and flop and turn over. And I feel those, you flip and flop and turn over as you go through the cycles of dreaming. It's like what, every 90 minutes you're supposed to enter a deep sleep or something like that. Um, yeah, I lost my train of thought there. Um, yeah, pull me
Yeah, I
back.
don't know.
Um, yeah, okay.
Come back to it, come circle back around. We need
Yeah,
to.
if it's meant to come, it'll come back. If not,
Yeah.
that's okay. Um,
Did you have anything else you wanted to mention about nightmares, PTSD, anxiety,
um, I think we've,
anything that maybe you've experienced?
well, I mean, I did a pretty deep dive earlier with my nightmare. I would say, okay, this is one part that I will say it kind of ties into the emotional side of things, and it also ties into the thought of not being able to change your past. So one thing that I do believe in is that we can't change our past, but we can just change kind of how we feel about it. And when it comes to anxiety and fear, you always have a choice. You can live your life with anxiety and fear, or you can choose not to give in to those and to kind of like have a whoosah moment, just calm and collected and move forward. And um it's as part of my journey in the last year, it's one day I woke up and I didn't want to live in fear and anxiety anymore. I was tired of always being under stress. I wasn't sleeping well. It's just a snowball effect where even driving was stressful. And I was like, basically road rage and angry at everybody on the street because they cut me off or they didn't indicate or, just little things like that that tie into or overflow into all areas of your life. And I just like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. And then when you're it, there's kind of this weird analogy, and I'm not sure I'm gonna do a good job of explaining it, but I'll try. You know, there's like if you picture a bottle or a flask, and in this bottle there's like your normal everyday things that you have to deal with. Like just picture them as little balls and stuff that go in. And if that is filled up with stressors and things, and those stressors become I'm really butchering this analogy. I have it in my head, but I'm not doing a good job of putting it out there. But the idea is that there's a certain amount of stress that anybody can take at any given time. And when that's filled up, when your stress meter is filled up, there's no more room to deal with any of the stressful situations. And you literally get kind of this bubble over effect, which is, I guess, comes to a point where people have breakdowns. It's where they just can't handle that level of stress anymore. And when you're able to, I guess, reset, I don't know if that's the right way to the right word to use, but and I also note that stress comes from a variety of places. And I've got a list of stresses here that was in the dream book that I was reading. So there's acute stressors, which come from like natural disasters or war related. There's and they called it experimental stressor, so it's kind of like if like somebody that's trying to influence dreams or like showing their participants like scary images or scary movies. So there's that type of stressor. But there's also social stressors where you have you know, interpersonal conflicts, maybe you have concerns with your friends, your coworkers, emotional stressors. You lost your work, you got divorced, you have a death of a loved one, all of those. And then just daily hassles. You're overworked, you have traffic, you misplaced your keys, you have all these big things and these little things that there's just so much that can add up that it'll just kind of bubble over and it builds up over time. So, if you've had a stressful day, but you don't have a lot of stress in your life, you just have a stressful day, you usually can deal with that stressful day. But if you have a lot of stress all the time and, over weeks and weeks and weeks, and then you have a particularly stressful day, that stressful day is going to be really challenging to deal with because your, I don't know, gauge or your
Get your
meter,
quota.
yeah,
Get your quota.
thank you. You're at your quota of stress and you can't overflow. And I have definitely have got myself to a point where my stress quota is almost zero on a daily basis, which is a really nice place to be in. And yesterday, something happened, and this is in waking time, not sleep time, that if it was me a year or two ago, my stress meter, my quota would have been at its max, and I would have been even more stressed in that situation, which then just creates a snowball effect. What happened? What happened was um my cat, we let her outside. But she's usually has to be supervised because we just afraid she'll run off or something. So you have to watch her. And for a split moment, we lost track of her and we couldn't find her. And normally if we can't find her, you just shake the treat bag, call her name, and she comes running. And yesterday this didn't happen. And we were walking up and down the street, all over the property, calling her name. We asked the neighbor, for at least 30 minutes we were trying to find the cat. And I was in such a state of calm. I had confidence that she would come back, that she was fine. She just got a little carried away. Um, but she would come back because one, it's cold outside, so she would know that she would want to be warm. She gets treated really well at home. So like I just had complete confidence and faith that she would come home when she was ready or when, she would find her way back. My fiance though was like in pretty much panic mode, which he's normally pretty calm and level-headed, but this was his cat, this was his baby, you know, stuff that's happened to his baby. And he was just so concerned. I could literally see it all over his face. And I'm just like happy, well, not necessarily happy. I was obviously a little bit concerned, but I just had confidence that she would come back. Um, yeah, I just wanted to share that little story of being at a point where you you have you basically live a stress-free life. And when your stress quota is almost zero, any stressful situation that comes at you, you're able to handle in a clear and level-headed way.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and it's a much nicer way to live life, that's for sure. That you don't have to
yeah,
it's like even when I used to live with anxiety and fear, it was like I was taking on the whole weight of the world on my shoulders as well, because I would, you'd watch something on the news and then you're worried about, things happening in other countries that you really have no control over. The only control that you have is your own life and how you react to it. And so that was just a little extra something I wanted to share this morning.
yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I was just while you were talking, I was thinking, was that before you had that nightmare? Like, there was it just the day before?
Um, yeah, so last night's nightmare, yeah, did
Yeah.
happen after yes.
I wonder if that's connected.
It could be, but it could also be my intent. So, yesterday when we were texting and planning out today's episode, I didn't, I wanted to do more reading in the book to get more ideas come through, and it just one thing led to another last night that I just didn't get to put as much time into reading as I wanted to. Um, I won't need to go into all the all the details of what I did yesterday evening instead of reading I read a little bit, but I didn't read as much as I had hoped to. And then the next thing you know, it was
Yeah,
bedtime, and it was more important for me to go to bed at an appropriate time so I'd be able to get up in time to record this podcast with you. So before bed, I kind of just put the intent out. I was like, okay, it's like I'm gonna need some ideas for tomorrow's podcast, put them through. And
yeah,
that's when I got the idea with the journey cards and had that dream. So I was like, wow, that dream is like on the nail for today's episode. So
yeah. It was like spoon fed you like everything, like all the symbols are just so out there in your face. Whereas
yeah.
I don't get anything like that really. And
Aw.
I suppose, like I know for me it doesn't matter because, like you said, like I said before, you recognize the symbols. That's how you interpret it. Whereas I'm more emotion, so I can be shown one thing and it could be the most colorful thing, but I probably won't see the color. I won't notice it. It'll be about the motion or how I feel in the dream. So
Mm.
yeah,
Oh, that's really interesting. So maybe our like subconscious is oh, that's a weird word to say. Each of our subconscious are talking to us differently, I guess. You know,
yeah,
they know the way to get to Biljana's heart is to get there through emotion. Like
yeah,
the way to get the message through the Sarah is show her symbols, give her a puzzle to put together, and she'll do it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it shows with like even just what you're talking about and how you approach your life and the episodes like it, so you can kind of gauge, yeah, you can connect those things together. So yeah, we're just such incredible beings. We're just, yeah, so fascinating. Yeah, and that's what I love about this and doing this with you, because we get to dig deeper into dreams, but also go within for ourselves. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. I hope our listeners enjoy our episodes as much as we enjoy recording them. But if not, well, then it's just, it's for me and you, Biljana. That's fine.
Yeah, well, don't worry about everyone else. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just for us. It's if it's for our own healing or us connecting, just having someone to talk to. There's no limits, there's no judgment. It's like, you're laying it on the table. This is what I got. This is who I am. Take it
Hmm.
or leave it. So it's refreshing, very refreshing.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Um, we should talk a little bit. I mean, I think we're getting closer to the end of our episode, or this might go over time. I don't remember what time it was when I hit record. But in any case, I do have to go to work in a little bit too. So have to go do my actual job. Shall we talk a little bit about lucid dreaming? So we won't go too far into detail because we'll leave that for our next episode, but we just wanted
Yeah,
to kind of, I guess, maybe introduce what they are and maybe answer the question if we've had them before. I'm not really sure. I won't I'll just I want to pass the torch to you for this one, but I will say that our next episode we will have a guest who has actually taken a lucid dreaming course, so we'll get to hear a little bit more perspective, and we'll dive deep into lucid dreams in our next episode.
yeah. I'm really excited about that. We won't spoil who it is.
No,
We'll just yeah, get them on to be man or woman. We don't know yet. No one knows. It's a secret.
just you and I know, and the person, of course.
Yeah. So lucid dreaming, like it's a fairly new. term for me. So even I'm trying to still like I'm not one for labels, so I just kind of like when I'm talking about something, I just say it how I interpret it. For me, lucid dreaming, my understanding is you are aware that you're dreaming and you're interacting with your dream. Is that right?
Yeah, I
That's my understanding. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I guess we'll find out for sure. At least one, I guess, more concrete perspective of what exactly lucid dreaming is. That will be
Yeah.
the warning if the person ends up listening to this episode before we have them on. That will be the first question that will be asked is, what is lucid dreaming? Um,
Yeah. Yeah, well, in that sense, I think I have. I'm pretty sure I have lucid dream, not without even trying. It's just happened like, those vivid dreams where you feel like it is real, that just natural to just interact with your dream. So yeah, it's definitely something I've experienced, and I recommend people try not to lucid dream, but to try and engage with your dream because you can learn so much about yourself and like how you interact, like especially if you're having a nightmare or you've got a situation where it's confronting, like if you're able to confront that situation in your dream, it can give you more confidence. It can give you some insight into maybe how you would behave in waking life. So yeah, it's a fascinating thing, and yeah, I should probably put the intention to do more lucid dreaming. I kind of like just letting things happen naturally. But yeah, it'd be good just so we've got, more things to talk about and we can dive deeper into these sorts of topics as well.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I mean, we got to practice what we preach, right? If we tell people to put the intent out there, we should be doing it as well. Um, but yeah, with dreaming, I mean, I'm really looking forward to our next episode so we can, hear more concretely what it is. But I I feel that yes, there's the awareness part of it. And if that is the bar for something to be considered a lucid dream is just being aware that you're dreaming, then I pretty much lucid dream every night or almost every night because
Yeah,
I'm at a point where I've been so, you know, focused on pretty much a nightly basis on the first thing when I wake up. It's like, okay, I had that dream. Okay, was that an important dream? Is there something I should, you know, learn from this? And then I start reflecting and going through it and have this whole internal dialogue about my dream. So if the bar is okay, you were aware you're dreaming, then for it to be lucid dreaming, then yes, I do. But then there's like another layer where it's you're aware and then you try to control it, which is kind of what you were talking about when you're having a bad dream and you can
yeah,
kind of dictate where it is. And for me, when I first started to recognize that I was dreaming, there would be an instant where I'd be like, "Oh, I'm dreaming. I can do anything." And I would start to try to do something. And then it's like I lose the control. So is lucid dreaming when you actually can like physically control like your body in your dream, your actions, what you do in a dream? Is that considered lucid dreaming? Because if that is what a true lucid dream is, then I've had experiences with it, but I've not been successful in holding on to the control. Once I recognized that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna run. And I don't know why. I have a background where I enjoy running. I haven't run in a while because I've had some knee problems and stuff, but I used to really enjoy running. And so in my dream, I'm like, I'm gonna run. And I started to run and then it just like lost it and then the dream just went on to do whatever the subconscious wanted my wanted my dream to do. Um, but definitely from a bad dream perspective, that is one of the ways that you can deal with and overcome bad dreams is if you get used to recognizing that you're dreaming and then you just think of so if a bad situation is happening, you just think about a positive, something positive, and then it'll just change the dream. For me, when I have a bad dream, I just like wake up and then I just wake up. That's my like escape. But maybe that's not the right way to do it because I'm literally like running away at that point. But um the last thing I wanted to say on that is something that I was reading last night, and that is that a when it comes to like the intent with dreaming and having a change in kind of your psychology and how you are dealing with situations, it takes about 6 weeks for it to really, you know, for there to be a noticeable change, or a more permanent change, I guess. So when it comes anything dream related or anything in your life, but in particular dreams, because that's what we're talking about, for anybody listening, don't get discouraged if you're not remembering your dreams, if you're not having lucid dreams, if you're not meeting the expectations that you have for your dreams after just a couple tries. It may take many, many weeks for you to get there. So that's just something I wanted to mention.
Yeah, cool. I just looked up the like a definition,
Oh,
and I got
good.
two here. Yeah, just on Healthline, and it says lucid dreaming is when you're conscious during a dream. This typically happens during rapid eye movement, REM sleep, the dream stage of sleep. An estimated 55% of people have had one or more lucid dream in their lifetime. During a lucid dream, you're aware of your consciousness. And this is on Wikipedia. It's the most like reliable resource ever on the internet.
You guys should have just saw Biljana's face when she said that. And if you didn't hear the sarcasm in her voice, you would have saw it on her face. Sorry.
Um, yeah, so a lucid dream is a type of dream wherein the dreamer realizes that they are dreaming during their dream. Reckon I could put another dream word in that in sentence. Um, the capacity to have lucid dreams is a trainable cognitive skill. Yeah, I believe that. During a lucid dream, the dreamer may gain some amount of control over the dream characters, narrative, or environment, although this control of dream content is not the salient feature of lucid dreaming. So there
Ah,
you go.
perfect. Cool. So the bar is to just be aware, and then
Yeah,
one feature of lucid dreaming could be that you can actually control it, but it's not the bar that needs to be met for it to be considered lucid dreaming. Cool.
yeah.
So yeah, I probably then lucid dream on a nightly basis, and I didn't know that that's what it was called because I thought that the criteria was that you had to have control over the environment situations in your dream, but just being aware. Cool.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot more complex, but just being aware, I would have thought a lot of people are aware when they're dreaming, but apparently not.
Yeah. It depends. There have been times in my past where I've had such vivid dreams that seem so real that in the moment, like I didn't know I was dreaming. Like I just thought I thought I was awake and doing normal things. And then you wake up and then for 2 seconds you're like, wait a second. Oh, that was all just a dream. Okay. And I don't know if you've ever had this come up, but I've definitely have had it come up in conversations where, you're talking to somebody and you'll have a story that you want to share and you'll be like, I don't know if this actually happened or if I dreamt it and then you move on. But like it's that phrase. Have you ever had that come up?
Yep,
Yeah.
all the time.
Did I dream that or did this actually happen? Yeah. And and then it's funny because sometimes it's come back where the person I'm talking with, I was like, oh yeah, it's like we've done this before, or we had this conversation before, or whatever it was. And they look at you like you have 10 heads, and you're like, oh, I dreamt it then. Yeah.
Or they don't remember
Yeah.
one of the
Either
two.
that or it's a Mandela effect, who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Parallel timelines.
Yes, something gone on there for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Cool. Is there anything else on your heart today, Biljana?
I'm really excited for our next interview. I know I'm like I love every podcast that we do, but I'm excited for our next one because we've got someone coming on, and I feel like because I listened to the interview that you two had together, and I just feel like we're just gonna bounce off each other so well, and we're just gonna be picking out each other's brain, and we're gonna just absorb every goodness from each other. And yeah, it's gonna be good fun. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. And I did have a great time in the interview with this person as well. It's it's interesting and I felt this way with you as well. Sometimes when you meet somebody and you just connect with them on such a deep level, even though it's the first time you're meeting this person. And if you believe in past lives, which I do believe we all have, been here before. We've done this before. We reincarnate, and so you do have past lives. I just can't help but think that those people that you really genuinely connect with on such a deep soul level, I guess, are people that you've connected, are souls that you've connected with in a past life. And so even though in this lifetime it's the first time you've met them, you've met the soul before. And that's that's
yeah,
just beautiful. And it's like two friends picking up like they've not missed a beat, even though it's been lifetimes since they've
yeah,
since they've hung out. You just have that conversation. And that's definitely what's gonna happen in our next episode when we have that person on to talk about lucid dreams, but
yeah,
just whatever may come as we our three souls reconnecting after at
yeah,
least at least one lifetime.
yeah. I'll have to see if we've met before. But yeah, when I see this person, like I just there's like I don't know if it's just their nature is just so relaxing, and you just feel comfortable listening to what they're saying. Or I've met her before. Who knows? Who knows?
You just gave away the gender. Little teaser. We were
I
trying
was
to be
trying
new
so
too.
hard.
I know.
I was
It's because
trying
we
so hard.
it's because we kept talking about it. Oh well. That's okay. Well, we will have a lovely person on in our next episode. So I guess that's it for today, huh? Shall we close out?
Yeah,
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 okay. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as Biljana and I have. We covered a lot of ground as we tend to do in our episodes. We had a little soul journey lesson card reading for Biljana, followed by discussions of nightmares and PTSD and lucid dreaming and teasers for our next episode. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening. If you would like to have your dreams discussed, interpreted, if there's anything you'd like to see us talk about in an upcoming episode, please let us know. You can leave a comment on our YouTube or Spotify, or you can send us an email at dreamoracleforyou@gmail.com. And that is the number 4 and the letter U. And with that, just keep on dreaming.